Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another new episode of Inside Voices First Takes. I am still Colin Binnick.
And I'm still Adam Rubin.
Sadly, he is. And we are here yet again to discuss the new movie that we've just seen, Baby Driver.
Baby, you tell me who does.
She a good girl? You love her?
Yes, I do.
That's too bad.
All right, Adam, I will let you take first impressions of this movie. What are your overall thoughts?
Well, my overall thoughts are this is the most fun I've had at a movie in a long time. I really had gotten a little run down with the grind of the summer movies. I had a great time. I thought it was a blast. You know what I thought? I thought this movie is what people thought the movie Drive was going to be. This was, I think people saw the trailer for Drive. They thought, "Ooh, that'll be kind of a fun action movie about a guy who's a getaway driver, and then he kind of falls in love with this girl, and his life of crime in a fun way." And then, of course, that is not what the movie Drive is. The movie Drive is excellent. Definitely all go see the movie Drive, but be prepared for it to not be like that at all. Whereas that's exactly what you got with this movie. It was fun. It was action-packed. I liked it. It wasn't too gimmicky for me. I had a great time. I say see it.
I am totally on board with you with your comparison to Drive. I mean, from the first trailer I saw for this movie, it was obvious. Like, oh, okay, that's the inspiration almost for this. But yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me at all if Edgar Wright had seen Drive and been like, "Oh, that's not what I thought that movie was going to be. I guess I can just make the movie I thought they already made." That wouldn't surprise me at all if that's the story behind this.
Yeah, you may have a good point there. Let me see what my first impressions were. I liked it overall. I did have some problems with it, but we'll get to those in a minute. But just in terms of just as a fun, just not really like a deep movie, but just like a fun, pure, breezy, action base with some good character arcs and stuff like that. Perfectly well done. Perfectly well executed. Yeah. Can we just talk about the opening scene? That was my favorite part. The opening heist, the opening lip syncing to the radio, and then the opening car chase. Absolutely phenomenal. That gets a 10 out of 10 for me. Would you agree? Was that your favorite action moment, the opening, or did you have a different favorite one?
I wouldn't say that was my favorite action moment. That's a good action moment.
Okay.
And of course, for our newer viewers, may not be familiar with how much of a fan of lip syncing you actually are. You love to sing along and talk along to movies. And so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, because I'm a human being, Adam.
You're a little iffy, and so is the main character in this movie. So I'm glad you were able to identify so early on with the character.
Oh, that was the best part. Him singing along to this tune. I'm like, that's me. That's me,
buddy. But yeah, no, I mean the stunt driving in that was delightful. It was still a little bit over edited for me. The actual car chase. But much less so than most movies these days. So that was nice. There was clearly a lot of effort put into it. I enjoyed it. You could tell a little bit that some real driving was actually happening. It was good. It was good. I thought the driving was consistently good pretty much throughout the film.
It's funny you bring up the over editing part, because while the opening action chase I thought was not too overly edited, I actually thought the stuff in the third act, once we got into the stuff in the parking garage, that was kind of a little bit harder to follow. Maybe it was just because it was night, and I don't know. I thought there was just a little bit too much quick cutting with the John Hamm police car and then the car that Baby is trying to get out of. I was a little bit more harder to follow, which was too bad, because I remember the opening chase, and I was just like, oh, but this was so good, but this one's not as good, and that's too bad, because this is like the end. And
well, we're definitely inching towards spoiler territory. So before we go into my response to that chase scene, See it or don't see it? What do you tell the folks at home?
For sure. I mean, it's a see it.
For sure see it.
I don't know if I would give it like a glowing great review, but it's definitely a good movie. Anyone should be able to go to the theater and see and check out.
Okay, well, there's 2 see it's from us. I say definitely see it. I think it's the most fun you're going to have in a while. It's a great date movie. It's a great movie just to see with friends. It's a great movie to see by yourself. Go see the movie and then come right back, and we will discuss the final chase scene. Okay, so getting into the parking garage. The thing about that, where you say it's a little harder to follow, it's a little harder to tell what's going on, is of course the whole point of that scene is that Baby Driver and his new girlfriend. I'm going to call her his girlfriend at that point.
Oh, yeah.
If you're Thelma and Louising it together from the cops, you're girlfriends.
Listen, that love story is just so. God, it's just something that I think most people, everyone wishes it could be that easy, right? You just go into a diner, you hear the girl start singing, you just fall for her. She falls for you, really just out of the blue. Like, really, she doesn't put any effort into it. I'm just like, oh, the luckiest.
Love at first sight. Love at first sight.
Yeah, for sure. So that's his girlfriend.
Who is it that easy for? I mean, right? These fucking people. Ugh.
Like a week later, they're going to the fancy restaurant. I'm like, dear God, this is the easiest courtship I've ever seen.
In full disclosure, that is how my relationship with Dana happened. But that's
who's Dana, Adam? For all of our viewers.
I don't know. I've never met her before in my life. In any event, the love scene the love story was definitely simple.
Kind of breezy, yeah.
Very, very breezy. As I thought was appropriate for the movie. The whole movie was breezy. She, the actress, I mean, she absolutely sells the thing. Dorothy.
Oh yeah.
Or Deborah, not Dorothy.
Dorothy.
Deborah, excuse me.
We're not in Kansas anymore, Adam.
They make a big point of it. Deborah. The woman who was playing Deborah absolutely sold that, because that could have been cheesy and nonsense. She is delightful and sincere, as is Baby. That's what makes that work for me. But in the end, in this final chase scene with Jon Hamm in the parking garage, they are basically being ninjas. They're supposed to appear in and out and like, oh yeah, they've tricked him. And we are suddenly inhabiting the point of view of Jon Hamm, who doesn't know where they are, as opposed to the rest of the movie and all the rest of the car chases where we're in the car with them. And so we know where everything is. So it was definitely an intentional choice in that final thing to not have really what's going on, because Jon Hamm doesn't know what's going on. On the other hand, I will agree with you that it is a little bit off-putting, because there's some car magic going on there. Yeah. That plan was not a real plan. There's a lot of finagling the geography in that scene. Didn't bother me, but definitely a valid point about it. It's not as strong from an action perspective as the others.
Right, and that's an interesting comparison you brought in terms of why it's a little bit more haphazard, is because it's Jon Hamm's point of view. I had a different thought on that. I actually thought it was because, like, the beginning and the middle action scenes, they're a lot more easier to follow, easier to watch, because Baby's in control. Like, everything's going to plan. He's got his music. It's all part of the plan.
All part of the
But the third act, remember, he loses his iPod. He's changing car. By the way, he changed into 10 different cars in a span of 5 minutes. Are you kidding?
Well, Colin, he's been boosting cars since he could see above the dashboard.
But dear Lord, are you serious? He's like a little something, like a little Mozart in terms of breaking and entering.
There's a lot. I'm pretty sure that was the title of one of his little mixtapes. Mozart of breaking and entering.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
I think that's fair to say about him.
So I thought it was more about just because, this is a little more, the whole third act, the third act heist has gone to crap. Ever since that point in the movie for me kind of got a little bit too, too unfocused, a little bit too over the top, a little too crazy, a little too crazy for me, because everything else was just so not crazy. And the third act went too much overboard with all. And
where would you draw the line of that's where it went too far? Where did it break?
It actually was before the attempt on the post office. It was actually, I think when he
when he shot the cops?
No. All before that. I'm talking about.
before that.
You mean the cops in the warehouse? No.
Yeah.
I think it's actually the moment where they discover the tapes, and like everyone is starting to want to think let's just kill baby now. At that point, it's getting a little too dicey, a little just too everything is on on dynamite. They're walking on like hot flares, and it just everything's
hold on. I think what you mean is they're walking on eggshells.
Sure.
Whereas what you said was they're walking on hot flares, which is not a thing.
Okay, well, you know what I mean. They're everything is all of a sudden like on a tightrope
situation. I understand what you mean. It's ready to. There's a lot of tension there. Yeah, and you felt that it was too much.
It was just all of a sudden like just the tension was ratcheted up to 11, and I just thought it would have been nicer if it was like more of a slow burn, or like if the third act, like instead of the whole plan going to crap right away, like if you figured out that baby had like his own heist, so he was gonna do like his own thing within the heist itself, I thought it would have been cool for him to like, get away with it. I don't know, it just kind of got a little bit too hectic for me to enjoy the third act of Baby Driver. That's just maybe that's just for me though.
I think that's just. I mean, to me, I thought that there was a pretty slow burn. As at first, everybody just sort of makes fun of him and he ignores them because he's good at what he does, so he doesn't care, and he knows he's going to get out. But as it becomes clear to him that he's not going to get out, that they're never going to let him leave this life, he starts to get much more concerned. The bullying continues. Obviously, Jamie Foxx's character is both threatening to kill people and also secretly there are plots to try to kill him. So then baby is just sort of stuck in the middle, and then
like they just kept all of a sudden like subplot after subplot kind of got added onto like the main thing.
But it did build linearly, right? Like that, like there all this tension, and then Jamie Foxx kills the guy, so they have to have a big shootout. So now they're pissed. Now they're going to go to a diner. Then Jamie Foxx wants to kill baby's girlfriend, and he stops him, and he's starting to take a stand. So now Fox hates him. I mean, they did build it. Like they had set it up properly so that everyone was looking for an excuse to figure out what baby's deal was, that he was acting so weird. And then when they don't know about the woman, so when they find the tapes, they think that's it. Oh, this is why he's acting so strange. Are you a spook? Are you a narc? What's going on? And then it turns out, right, he's just a really silly kid who makes his remixes of all his conversations. Come on, Colin. Was that your favorite part of the movie?
No, that was not.
They practically owe you royalties for stealing your life rights the way they did for this movie.
I do not take secret dialogue conversations and try to remix them.
It's so close to you, though. It is so.
What are you talking about?
It's almost your real personality.
Oh my god! No, stop!
I wouldn't be if I came over one day and you had just a stack of CDs, and I'm like, "What are all these CDs?" and they all had that kind of stuff on. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Well, I'm telling you now, then the people on the internet don't believe a word Adam said. That is not me at all.
20 years from now, we will uncover the stash, and no one will be surprised, including me.
All right.
I'm sure there's some great stuff in there. I'd love to hear it, is what I'm saying.
Well, get in line.
Share your art with the world, Colin. Come on, give us a taste.
Speaking of characters, especially in terms of the third act, can we talk about Kevin Spacey and his character? His character was a conundrum to me, and I don't know if it was in a good way or in a bad way, because like for like 2/3 of the movie, okay, he's kind of a father figure, but you could also tell, okay, he's a bad guy though. He's still threatening him.
He's a bad guy. Yeah.
But then then in the end, when you would think, baby just ruined this plan for you, you have to get out of town. Not only are you willing to help him, but then you like shoot for him. You give him the money. You let him take that. Did I miss a moment where like he just does a 180? Like it was just kind of out of left field for me. Did you feel that way?
I loved it. I have to say, because he's right. He's complicated. He
becomes complicated in that moment because I'm like, what?
And I was worried because what I didn't want was him to just be Kevin Spacey, like from Horrible Bosses, where he's just, he's just a nasty guy. Or Kevin Spacey from, I don't know, House of Cards, nasty, power-hungry guy, and that's just going to be Kevin Spacey, typecast forever. Like, that they found a way where they started to build the fact that even though he's trapped baby in this lifestyle for his own greedy purposes, he's greedy, but he does actually care about Baby, and he does give Baby the final say because he trusts Baby more than he trusts the rest of the crew. When he says, "Are we going to do this or not do this?" Now that the thing with the cops has gotten screwed up, Baby's the one who gets to make the call. And if he said walk, they would have all walked. So when Baby comes back, he's really, of course pissed.
You really think that, though? It wasn't like one of those like rhetorical like questions that he had said earlier?
No.
I don't know.
Because he broke that. Once he sees Baby and the girlfriend, Deborah, out at dinner, Baby tries to answer it with the question. And he says, "There's not a rhetorical question. I need a yes or a no now. You don't owe me anymore. Now you have to decide."
But then he said, "If you say no, you're gonna die." So it's really not
still a choice. But it's still a choice. But it's still a choice. But then this one
is it?
This one, Kevin Spacey. When by the time we get to this choice, where the deal seems like the gig seems like it's going bad, Kevin Spacey's not sure that they should do it. So Kevin Spacey kind of wants Baby Driver to say no.
Well,
to say that it's off and give him a reason where he can go, "Okay, great, it's off." And when Baby says, "No, let's do it," Kevin Spacey acquiesces to that and says, "Okay, I guess you guys are still going to do this thing, even though I've got a lot of misgivings." I think he does trust Baby by that point.
I mean, you have a point in terms of like he didn't want to call it off after the crap show that happened at the warehouse.
He didn't hear. He did not hear Bananas, Colin.
But I mean, well, yeah, that was a weird dialogue choice.
I love all that strange little dialogue they gave him. I thought it really added a lot to his character.
No, and that's the Edgar Wright influence. That's the Edgar Wright influence for sure. I mean, that's what he does. I don't know. I mean, I think that the fact that he gives Baby the chance to like speak for himself, that's a nice moment. But I think in the end, as Jamie Foxx pointed out, even if Baby says, "I don't want to do it," there are 3 other people saying, "Let's do it," and they're the ones with the guns. So I don't.
But but if you don't have a driver, you don't have a driver.
Yeah, well, yeah, they said they were gonna go find somebody after that when they thought Baby was turned or whatever.
Well,
so
because that was a much more extreme. That was a much more extreme situation by that point. Is what I'm saying. But to get back to your real question, so we've established that there actually is, it's an abusive relationship between he and Kevin Spacey. But there's a trust there. There really is a bond there, despite him phrasing it like that line from Monsters, Inc., which is another funny random moment.
I love that.
Right. There really is a bond. And Kevin Spacey was not going to help him at all until he sees that Deborah's with him. And he goes, you're in love. And he just can't help himself but to help him. Like he's angry at himself that he has to help them. But he explains, he's like, "I was in love once. And yeah, okay, you got to go? Fine. Like, all right, I
thought he ought to known that before when they saw them at dinner. I'm just like, well, you should have known. Anyway, maybe that's.
But the point is, not every girlfriend that you've gone to dinner with one time would accompany you fleeing the cops to try to get out of the country with a bunch of people who just got murdered. He goes, "Oh, that's love. That's not. They're not just dating anymore.
That's true.
They're really in it. They're really in this one together.
That's soulmate status for sure. Okay.
That's an intense relationship, is what I'm saying. He sees that and he sees it, and he's like, I can't say no to that. He has to help him. That's nice. He's sweet, actually. He's a nasty guy and he's greedy, but he's got a little bit, just the tiniest bit of warm spot in his heart. And that's what's nice about it. And of course, he doesn't let them go. He, at that point, is grievously wounded. They're surprised he's in a shootout. Like, "You two lovebirds, get out of here and let me get back to my life doing what I do." He did not intend to sacrifice himself for them. That decision is made beyond his paycheck, as it were.
Must be a pretty big bond to be, get run over by a car twice or to get him away. So
yeah.
Well, to wrap it up, what would you, score-wise, what'd you give this movie?
It's a silly movie. It's a fun movie. Not a ton of depth, but very solid. I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Gotcha. All right.
8.5.
I will give it a little bit lower. I thought the first half of the movie specifically was very strong. The soundtrack, a great soundtrack.
Yes,
maybe not quite as Guardians 1, but I think it's a stronger soundtrack than Guardians 2, me personally.
It's a very good soundtrack,
And, the fact that they acknowledge the soundtrack in the movie with all the singing to it, the lip syncing, I love that little detail. That really made it work. Third act, a little too crazy, a little too intense, cutting-wise, and just, subplot over subplots. But I'll give it a 7. A 7 out of 10 for me. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's where we'll have to leave it tonight. Thank you for joining us again for Inside Voice's First Takes, where we give you our opinions on movies we've just seen. We hope you'll join us next time for First Takes, and leave us a comment down below. What did you think? Leave us a thumbs up if you like this. You guys really help us grow, and tell somebody you know about the channel. Have a good night.